Welcome to Life in the God Lane. I'm Tom West. It's a power verse for the day for March the 7th, 2022. And I call this God's Throne in the Heavens. It's from Psalm 103, verse 19. Hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell so you get notified every time I put one of these things out. I put one out every day. Give me thumbs up, make comments, share this video with someone else. Could be very impactful for their life. We're just teaching the Bible, and I'm going through the 103rd Psalm, verse or two at a time, and giving you its context and just all the attributes that God has listed there, and they're pretty profound. It was October 16th through October 28th, 1962. The Soviet Union had installed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles off the Florida coast. We did a blockade once we figured that out and confronted Russia about it. We did a blockade of Cuba, and we had a 13-day nuclear confrontation and standoff with the USSR, the Soviet Union, today called Russia or the Russian Confederation. Now, I was a freshman in high school and remember having drills where we got in a position of safety under our desks. Thought that's interesting even then, like the desk would help against a nuclear bomb. It's just a bunch of nonsense, right? But that's what we did. It made everybody feel good. Psalm 103, verse 19 says, "The Lord has established his throne in the heavens, and his sovereignty rules over all." So often, and even today, as Vladimir Putin has threatened the use of his nuclear weapons, and he's threatened that, we focus on the rulers of the earth and governments. Man, what's the government going to do next? During the Cuban Missile Crisis and today, government rulers can cause us to fear. And we probably have something to be concerned about. There's no question. But two of God's attributes that we don't want to miss are these. He has established his throne, or you could say his kingdom, in the heavens. He rules. And secondly, God's sovereignty rules over all. And that is unquestioned. Okay? So here's the news flash for earthly rulers like Putin. God's rule rules the rulers. God's rule, his authority, his sovereign rule, rules the rulers. Sometimes they have a hard time figuring that out, but they need to. With God's ruling the rulers, is there a guarantee that evil things won't happen on earth? No, there's not. There's not. Bad things happen to people all the time. But there is a promise that God's rule is established, and he is sovereign. He is sovereign. Bad things happen on earth. Good people get hurt. Good people get killed. I was thinking about DDay on Normandy, June 6, 1944. 2,400 Americans died on Normandy Beach that day. My Uncle David was there. My pastor, Dr. Bill Boyce from Phoenix, was the first Army chaplain on the beach that day. So that, becomes a little personal. And a lot of people were maimed and hurt and killed that day. Does God rule when his people are wounded and killed? Yes, he does. He does. Remember the assumption of Psalm 103 that Jesus would die on a cross and be raised from the dead 1,000 years after Psalm 103 was written by King David. That establishes God's rule over his people. And listen, it guarantees life beyond death here. So surrender to Christ as Lord, as King. Come voluntarily under his rule. And even if there was a nuclear attack, even if you were killed, and someday we're going to die, okay? Everybody dies. No matter what happens, because of what God established in the heavens, his rule, which ultimately comes by what Jesus paid at the cross and being raised from the dead. No matter what happens, when you die, you don't lose your life. Your life just goes to be with Jesus. That's what his rule is all about. So come into it today and beat death once for all, forever and for good. Do that. Help everybody else you know to do that. Bless your heart, and I will see you tomorrow.